What's up, everyone? Mark here, and welcome to the Prepared Pantry. Today we're doing sliders, and I know we've done burgers a couple of times here. We've done a smash burger. You can check out that recipe. But we've never done a burger inside. I'm always a big advocate of grilling and grilling outside. You can also check out the video I did on grill maintenance very recently. You know, I'm a big proponent of grilling year round. But there are some times that you just don't want to have to be standing outside to grill, or that it's not practical, or maybe you don't even have a grill. You know, there is a genuine need to make burgers inside. I've never been a fan of cooking burgers on the stove. Just it tends to be a greasy, unfun, smoky mess, and not pleasant experience all around. But there are plenty of ways to kind of work around that. And today's recipe is a very simple pantry-based slider that you can make. We're going to make 6 today, but you can easily double this recipe to make 12 and feed a family. But it's super simple. All you're really going to need are the beef, and we're going to use 85% lean ground beef, and slider buns. And everything else is probably already in your pantry or in your refrigerator right now, and that includes all of the ingredients to make your own sauce. So before we get started, I want to take a moment to thank you all again so much for your continued support of the channel. Please give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Click the red button down below or the watermark in the corner. And when you do, make sure you hit that bell icon so you get a notification every time we have a new video out. So one of the things I'm going to try to do in this video to show how easy this really is not move from this spot at all. I know I'm constantly running back and forth between the island and the stove, or the island and the sink and the refrigerator and the drawer of utensils. I'm going to try to have everything at arm's reach on the island so that I don't have to make any trips back and forth, and kind of simplifies the editing for me. Also means fewer edits that require transitions, so you'll be looking at the ceiling a lot less for those of you who watch a lot of my videos. We're going to give that a shot. Kind of challenge myself to be able to get through the entire thing from start to finish without leaving this spot. All right, let's get right into it. Okay, so we're ready to get started, and we actually have everything we need right here. So we shouldn't need to run back and forth a million times. For our burger sauce, and this is enough sauce for 12 sliders, even though we're only making 6 today, so I'll have some extra, or if you decide to double the recipe, this should be enough sauce for you. We're going to start off with 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, 2 tablespoons of ketchup, 1 teaspoon of sweet pickle relish, 1 teaspoon of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vinegar, and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. For the burgers, we're going to need 3/4 pound of 85% lean ground beef, 6 burger buns, obviously, slider sized. We're going to need salt and pepper to taste, 1/4 cup, or again 4 tablespoons of minced onion, and 2 tablespoons of water. We'll need 3 slices of American cheese, and American is the cheese to beat when it comes to burgers, at least sliders like this, and of course some oil for the pan. Now to talk about this a little bit, so I made the point that most of the ingredients in this, you know, with the exception of the beef maybe, or even the rolls if you had to go out and get slider rolls, is stuff that you have in your pantry or your refrigerator already anyway. So the onions here are a good example of that. And a lot of people don't know this. You can rehydrate these, you know, spice rack minced onions, dried onions, and they're perfectly usable in something like this. It's perfect for a slider, as a matter of fact. A lot of fast food restaurants, at least one in particular I know for certain, major chains in the United States use rehydrated onions for their standard cheeseburgers and hamburgers. It's not something that gets advertised a lot because, you know, any restaurant that does that wants you to think that you're getting, you know, fresh minced onions. But the reality of it is it's a stable product, a shelf-stable product that can be reconstituted with water. It's done all the time in the restaurant industry, and in fact, it's done it a lot for burgers and sliders. So I think it's perfect right here. So all we did for this was 2 tablespoons of the dried minced onion and 3 or 4 tablespoons of water. Give it about 10-20 minutes to soak in. You can speed that up with maybe 30 seconds to 45 seconds in the microwave. Just be careful that it doesn't boil over. You just want to give it enough time for all that water to absorb, and what you end up with is basically reconstituted chopped minced onion. So, of course, if you have onion around, you can use it too. Since we needed such a small amount, it's not even quite half of an onion minced. It wasn't really worth cutting up an onion, but you could certainly do that. If you're doubling the recipe, then you're probably going to use at least half an onion for that, so I wouldn't maybe worry about it as much. But again, really handy to be able to do this with pantry stuff. So these are just plain old minced onion from the spice section, but a lot of supermarkets, or at least mine does, have an array of different freeze-dried spices, cut whole freeze-dried. So a good example of that is like chives. They have onion, ginger, garlic, green onion or spring onion, or scallions, all the same thing, which are nice because they're freeze dried as little pieces that you can still see are kind of whole. So reconstituting those when you need them in a pinch is super helpful. Not always in the section with the spices. My supermarket has them over near where the produce is, so you might have to kind of hunt them down, but they're really handy to have around. But again, this is just the cheap stuff. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is cut our 3 slices of American cheese into quarters, because each slider is going to get 2 quarters. Okay, and we can set this aside until we need them. And for our sauce, we're just really going to whisk all this stuff together. And I say whisk, but whisk, mix with a fork, mix with a spoon. And this is really essentially a Thousand Island, or similar. So if you'd like to just use Thousand Island dressing, go ahead. If you'd like to use whatever burger sauce you want to use, go ahead and do that too. Okay, pretty well mixed. So that and our cheese will get set aside. And now we can work on our burgers. I'm going to wear rubber gloves for this. So we are going to make 6 2-ounce burgers. So we're going to portion these out with a scale, which is just really the best way to do this, to make sure that you're being accurate. And you can portion this out however you like. I like to cut individual squares of parchment so that I can more easily transfer the burgers around. But we're going to just get these measured out. And we want to roll this into a pretty tight, pretty compact ball. You do want to use good ground beef for this because the burger kind of has to be able to stand on its own. I'm using ground beef from Sandy Lane Meat Market, my local meat market. I know they grind it on the premises. It's fresh ground and supporting a local business. As you go along, you're likely to kind of get better at picking out enough to get close to 2 ounces. Okay, so now we're going to form our patties. The way we're going to do this is using a Ziploc bag that's been cut down the sides, leaving the bottom open like a hinge. And we are going to simply place each one of these down. Fold the bag over and use a clear glass plate to squish it down into a 4-inch patty. And we can check that one is good. Now you can see why I like to do the individual pieces of parchment. And you'll get pretty good at eyeballing the measurement without having to go back and check it each time. Okay, now with clean non-beef hands, I'll pull out 6 rolls. These are my favorite roll, our favorite roll, Martin's potato rolls. You make a slider size roll and a sandwich size roll and some bread stuff too. They might be more northeast mid-Atlantic. I think they're out of Pennsylvania. So we'll get these opened up. And we are going to sauce the bun bottoms. There's no right or wrong amount here, but like I said, this is intended to be enough sauce for up to 12 of these things. Okay, now we will move over and get about a teaspoon of oil on medium heat. Okay, and once we've got the pan good and hot, we are going to add our burgers 6 at a time. So if you are going to double the recipe, cook 6, wipe out the pan, add some more oil, and do another 6. But it's okay if they're kind of crowded and touching a little bit, they're going to shrink pretty quickly. But we're only going to cook these for a couple of minutes before we flip, and it's a couple more minutes, so it goes pretty quickly from here. So we are going to season these with a little kosher salt. And a little bit of black pepper. And we got a little bit of onion on each one. Divide them up evenly. And we want to kind of press the onions into the meat. And like I said, we only want these to go for a couple of minutes. Going to flip. And season the other side. A little salt and pepper. And now it is time for the cheese slices. Each one is going to get 2. I'm going to add our top buns. And we're going to dump 2 tablespoons of water in there. And that's going to kind of help steam the buns up a bit. I'm going to cover it. Let these go for about another minute. And we're done. Okay, perfect. Turn off the heat. And 1 slider on each bun. And look at that, we're already ready to give this a taste. I'm sure these are insanely hot. Nice steamed bun. Look at that, it fits perfectly. Melty cheese coming out the side. I'm only delaying this because it's so hot. I know that when I take a bite, it's, well. That is good. That sauce is really good. Some of the onions are a little caramelized and browned. Some of them that were pressed up into the meat aren't, so you get a little contrast in texture and flavor. I still think that sauce is better than anything I could have bought too. There's just something about making it yourself, you know, it's always going to taste better. Guys, that is it for this one. You saw how easy this was. I didn't even move from this spot. Make this recipe. You will thank yourself. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.